Let's go ahead and get going here, shall I? So point clouds and InfraWorks. If you haven't messed around with point clouds at all, point clouds are really cool. They're up and coming technology, and it's pretty exciting what they're doing in InfraWorks. So a few things that we're going to be talking about in this session. First of all, we're going to talk about what is a point cloud. That's always a good thing to figure out, right? So what is a point cloud? How are they created? How do you go about creating a point cloud? What do you need to do to the point cloud before you can take it into InfraWorks? Because InfraWorks can't just accept any point cloud. It only accepts a certain kind. How do we go about bringing them into InfraWorks? And then finally, and most exciting of them all, what can we do with them? So what is a point cloud? Well, I decided, you know, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I just went to a Wikipedia, and I copied their little text there. So basically, a point cloud is a series of X, Y, and Z value coordinates. They're often taken using mechanical devices like lasers and things like that. But basically, it's just a cloud of points, X, Y, and Z. Oftentimes, they'll have additional data, but they don't have a lot of data. Typically, the data that you'll get is a color or possibly a reflection quantity of some sort. Right. So here's an example of a point cloud of a torus. It's kind of cool. I like math things, so saw this and it's like, oh, I got to use it.
For the rest of us, it's a donut.
I think that's a donut.
It's a torus. Yeah.
A Ford is a torus. You don't know what you're talking about.
Here's a good one for you. Your coffee cup is topologically the same as a torus. Ooh, there's some good math for you. All right. So anyways, so how are point clouds created? Well, there's typically a couple of different ways that they're created. First of all, we have scanners. Now, the scanners can be either terrestrial or aerial, so they can either be mounted on the ground, they can be mounted on a drone or an aircraft of some sort. And here's a couple of examples of some scanners. These are all terrestrial scanners. They're typically mounted on the ground. But like I said, you can have them mounted onto a drone or an aircraft. The point cloud that I'm going to be using later actually was created from a scanner that was mounted onto a truck that was driving down the road. So it scanned as it drove down the road. They do that a lot for highways. All right. Another way we can do this is through photogrammetry. So you can go out, take a whole bunch of pictures, and turn those pictures then into a 3D model, into a point cloud. Here's an example. We did this for our building. This was a couple years ago, actually. We got a drone. We actually gave the drone away. We're all bummed that we don't get to play with it anymore. But we gave it away as a prize at an event that we had. And we took it up with a GoPro camera, took a bunch of pictures of our building, and actually created a point cloud from photographs for our building. It's pretty impressive what we can do with that. So what format does the point cloud need to be in? So InfraWorks is very specific on the type of point clouds that we have. It must be recap. So Autodesk has the Recap 360 Pro, Recap 360. It has to be a recap point cloud file. Recap can take just about any type of point cloud file that your scanners can create, and it will convert it into its own recap file. But as you can see, the only options here for the point cloud file are the RCS or the RCP. So RCS is a recap scan, RCP is a recap project.
And recap can be found in the suites?
Yes. It is a part of the design suite or the collections.
Correct. Right, the new collections.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not sure about Recap 360 Pro. Is that a part of the collection?
No.
Okay.
That's an additional fee, which you can contact your salesperson. They can get you all hooked up with that.
Is it in the collection or not?
It is not in the collection. Okay. It's just standard recap is in there.
Okay, perfect. Ooh, I got demonstration and demo in here. That means I guess I'm going to do a double demo. All right, so let me jump over here to recap. And let's go create a file. So basically what I've done is I've gone out and I've got an LAS file. That's a very common point cloud file format. So I'm just going to create a new scan project here.
You know what LAS stands for?
I do not. I don't know what LAS stands for.
Nope. Somebody used the...
My guess is LiDAR or something.
Scan?
Aperture scan?
There you go.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'll just call this one InfraWorks. All All right, we'll go ahead and create this. And so I just need to drag the files there. So I've got some files. So let's see. Nope, wrong place.
It's a laser file, just short for laser.
All right, so you can see in this case, I've got the two files here. Now, these are two separate scan files, and I'm just going to drag these in. And it's going to then, I need to index the scans. So basically what this does is when I index the scans, is it goes through and it ties the scans together. So it says, okay, well this part of the scan 1 and that part of scan 2, they match up, and so it basically stitches all the scans together. And this sometimes takes a minute, but it's doing a lot of math there for you. These were not in any way, shape, or form scanned so that they would do this. It's just something that Recap does. A lot of other programs, or at least older programs, you'd have to go in and, you know, put those globes. It's a lot of times when you've ever seen point clouds, they've got globes in them. And so the globes were what they used to stitch or index the scans together. Here in InfraWorks or in Recap, it just does it. Now, if you have that sort of information, it goes faster, but we're a third of the way done here.
Yeah, they used them for targets back in the days where their targets are globes.
Yeah, you see them as targets as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the fans on my computer are starting to, my laptop are starting to speed up. It's doing a lot of processing.
It's starting to hover.
Yeah. I have to keep my laptop down.
Prince Ali.
Alright, so it's done with the first one. It's moving on to the second one. It shouldn't take too much longer, but that's why we have Chris here.
Oh,
Hi, Chris.
hi. Patrick's here.
Entertain us.
Hey, Patrick.
So just to give you guys a heads up, we will be sending out an announcement also, or if you want to shoot either P. Milligan or C. Porter at CAD-1, we're going to be doing another VR day here at CAD-1. So if you guys have had any interest in potentially looking at how your company can work in the virtual reality environment, we're going to be setting up another one. The last one was, I would say it's a sellout because it was a free thing. But we were packed to the gills, and we actually stayed late on the night that we did it because there were so many people interested in it. So if you guys are interested in that, again, P. Milligan or C. Porter at CAD-1, email either one of us, and we'll get you guys the invite over for that. And we do anticipate it every single time we're going to do one of these things, it getting booked out 100% because it did the first one, so we have to assume that all of them are going to be like that.
Yeah, and the virtual reality is really cool. You can actually take point clouds into the virtual reality as well.
You can also virtually push people off a 4-story building and make them scream inside of the demo.
I've never done that. I don't scream. Okay, so as you can see, it's indexed. We'll go ahead and launch the project here. And here is the scan. So as you can see, it's a streetscape here. And they just drove down the road and scanned the whole thing. Now, I'm not interested in a lot of this stuff here, so what we can do is we can actually go into this scan and trim a bunch of it out. So you can see way out here we got some noise over here, some noise over there. That will just take extra processing time. Let me set this back to top view.
So you're in Recap right now.
This is Recap, yes.
Okay.
And we can come in here and we could create a fence that trims out a lot of this excess stuff that, well, we're not really interested in. And then I will clip the outside. And so it simplifies the scan up quite a bit. And you can do this, I mean, if you've got a lot of tall stuff that you're trying to get out, you can also flip this up on edge and trim out this direction as well. So it's not just a plan down thing, it's any direction that you're looking at it.
That's where Brian Hailey lives, is on the edge.
And then I'll go ahead and save this. And let's see, we'll go ahead and call this one, yeah, we'll just save over the old one. And so I have now created the RCP file that I can then take into InfraWorks. All right, so I'm ready to go into InfraWorks. Well, how do we do this? Well, for those of you that are familiar with InfraWorks, basically it's a data connection. So you can just connect to the data, configure it as a data source, and do all that fun stuff. But for those of you that are like me, I like things simple. We could simply do a drag and drop, and you can simply take that scan and just drag it into InfraWorks, and it'll make that connection for you. All right.
So, but if you have an existing model on your InfraWorks, can you then take that scan model, drag and drop it into a specific location?
So if your point cloud is geo-referenced, it'll just come into the right location.
Okay.
So you assign a coordinate system to it, and it just plops into the right location. If it's not, there is the option to place it manually. So if you just get like the scan of a building that has no real coordinate system information, you can still bring it in, but then it's more of a manual placement.
Gotcha.
So let's jump over to InfraWorks.
Does it change the file size when you're going from recap to InfraWorks? Does it shrink it? So when it's in recap, how big is it? And then if you were to save it right now in InfraWorks, how big is it?
I'm not sure. So we've got the two LAS files. I got the recap file. Let's go compare the sizes. All right, so my two LAS files, about 300 megs each. So we got about 600 megs of point cloud data.
Okay.
And if we go to the recap, nope. Where did I put it? Documents of it. Hang on. Not sure where it saved it. Demo point clouds. There we go. That doesn't look right. Hang on. That's not what I wanted. Come on. Demo point clouds, point cloud InfraWorks, recap. Well, I guess I can just look right here. So it's 200 kilobytes for the recap project, but then in the support file, which is where all the data is, it's less than 600 megs. So it's comparable. It's a little bit smaller, but not much.
Okay.
All right, so I go find that. Point clouds. So I can just take this InfraWorks RCP file, drag it into InfraWorks. So as you can see, it doesn't know what the coordinate system is. So I can assign one. So if I know the coordinate system of it, I can assign it here. If I don't, I can always do interactive placing and place it in the model where I want it to go. But I know this is West Virginia. So I'm going to assign that.
Set it next to the Mountain Mama.
West Virginia, North Foot. So that's the coordinate system I want to use. Close and refresh. Ooh, that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. As long as it's in West Virginia, it's a country road that'll take me home.
Where'd the point cloud go? Not sure what happened there. That should have worked. Let me try it again. Let me save it as a RCS file. No, it won't let me. I have to export it. So I'm going to save this as an RCS file. Just save this under my documents. I did something wrong.
Did we continue singing John Denver songs?
Actually, I've got another scan that I can just do this to. Let's just do it to this one.
And this one is geo-referenced.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Nope. I've chosen the wrong one again. Guess we'll find out here in just a bit. Ah, the joys of doing a live demo.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Yep, same thing.
Where's my scan? Let me try this one. Oops, wrong program. Yeah, that one's even worse. Yeah, it took me up to the North Pole somewhere. Alright, so I'm having issues here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but fortunately I have some other information here.
You're going to pull an emerald?
I'm trying to. Where is all my stuff?
Can you zoom extents or can you zoom... Is there even an option in this?
This was just working in this model. I don't know what's going on now. My whole model is just like gone. Okay, let me close out of this. Sorry, guys. It was working, I promise. So if you ever wonder if it's just you that these programs don't like, it's not.
But you're the guy they have to call to fix it. Looks like it's almost done.
Yep.
So another quick question. I mean, if you guys have, I guess if you guys could say yes, have you guys moved to the collections, which is Autodesk's new offering? Just say yes in the question tab. Nope.
Nope, nope.
Nope, still in the suites. The one thing I can tell you guys is if you're on this, not yet, but I am interested. The one thing I can tell you guys, if you're still in the perpetual licenses, no matter what, make sure you renew the subscriptions before they go. Make sure you contact us well in advance for your maintenance. Sorry, for your maintenance on your perpetual seats, well in advance of them expiring, because there's no more late renewals on perpetual maintenance. So make sure you guys have those renewed in advance of that. And then as far as answering it, somebody else said so they're interested. The collections is the direction Autodesk moved. So if you have you're working in the civil industry, you go to the collections. If you're in the AEC industry, you go to the collections. If you're in the oil and gas, it's all in the collections now. So if you contact us afterwards so we can get you some more information, you go up to autodesk.com and then just look up the AEC collections. But what Autodesk did is just kind of simplified all the products, anything you're going to need to do civil, architectural, oil and gas, it's all in the collections now. So
I think I chose the wrong coordinates.
It's a different name for the suite, but the thing is, before it was basically an oil and gas suite. It was a civil or an infrastructure design suite, or it was an Building Design Suite Premium. So what Autodesk did is just said, we're going to put everything into a collection, and they took all 3 of those and put it into one. The price on it's about $2,700 to get the collections, and that's per year, but you get all of that software, including Navisworks Managed, to be able to do collision detection. So, good question.
So if Chris or I call about collections, it's not because we want to speak to your accounting department.
Right. No, we need money. No, it's about collections. It's about the new thing that Autodesk is migrating over towards. So, but if you get a chance, take a look at it, because again, Autodesk is one of those companies that they're not going to switch over to something else. This is the direction they're going. They're not going to go, well, you know, collections was okay, but we're going to go back to whatever. So definitely take a look at it, the AEC collections.
All right, so I'm not sure what happened there. Let me try one more thing here real quick.
You made a causeway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to stop messing with it. I'm going to move on. So so basically it's a drag and drop. See how simple it is to bring it in?
Incredibly.
All right, so once it's in, what can we do with it? So the point cloud is in the file. What do we do with it now?
Isn't Recap still exporting?
No, I stopped it.
Okay.
I stopped it because I wanted to get back into InfraWorks, and I was having issues with it. So I just decided to move on. All right, so once the point cloud is in InfraWorks, I just did this morning, which is really bugging me. All right, we can have it create terrain. So it'll go through and it'll analyze the point cloud, and it'll create a ground surface out of the point cloud. Now, if some of you guys have already seen some of this stuff before, never worked with point cloud data, you know a lot of times we get classified point cloud data. Well, this is not a classified point cloud. This is just X, Y, Z. So a classified point cloud, points are classified as ground points or as building points or as vegetation, things like that. This is not one of those, and yet it still creates the terrain from that. We can also extract vertical features. So it'll go through and analyze everything, and it'll say, hey, this looks like it could be a light pole. Let's replace it with a light pole. This looks like it could be a tree. Let's replace it with a tree. This looks like it could be a sign. Let's replace it with a sign. This
does it give you the option as you're going through to say, yes, this is, or no, this is not? Or does it just do a fail swoop and go, this kind of looks like a stop sign?
Hold your horses, young man. We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. So it allows you to go through and identify those features. So let's go ahead and see this, if I can get this to work. So I've actually gone through and created the terrain in this model already. And it just doesn't like... Why are you zooming so far out? Hang on.
Because we are the world.
Yeah, this is weird. There it goes. All right, so this is the point cloud with the terrain. This is the terrain that was created from it. If you notice, it also creates an image, and it drapes that image on the terrain for me. So this image was created from the point cloud. It's not perfect. As you can see, we got some holes in here. There were some cars that were driving by the other side of the road. So that's what those are. If they had driven the road one direction and then down the other side, it would have filled in all those holes. Right, they did it for this.
It's like the street to my house, actually.
Okay. And it's really simple. Basically, you just go and tell it, hey, I want to create a point cloud terrain. You got some options in here. You can increase, decrease the size between points, increase the size, make it go faster, those types of things. You can export a new recap file. So if you wanted to get just the terrain points out and do something with those, you can export those out. And this is what's left over. So I've got the point cloud in here, so let me go ahead and display that. And I'll turn off these other two.
And jokingly, have you guys ever driven in Colorado after the snow's all melted off? It's pretty much what the roads look like in Colorado anyway. So, yeah.
And so this was the point cloud that was created, that the terrain was created from. So you can see it's a much simpler point cloud than what was in Recap. So it parses down the points, so it's not having to create a surface from all of the points. If I turn those back on, so you can see how that overlays there. And like I said, you can tell there are some cars in here. It's kind of hard to see that, but there's a nice scan of a truck that's probably parked in like a gas station or something like that. And then once the terrain is created, we can then come over here and do point cloud modeling. And this is the piece that goes through and extracts them. And I don't know why this is not working. Let me start all over. I'm going to create a brand new model here. Just because it's starting to annoy me. And I want you guys to see this.
So you have to assume this is they drove through with the scanner on the roof or something similar.
On the back of a truck or something like that. Huh?
Because
I'll call this one feature extraction. See if it works this time. There it goes. Why did it work that time and not the other time? I don't know. But now it works just fine. So here's the original point cloud in InfraWorks. And then I can come down here and I can do my point cloud terrain. And like I said, you can export all of the points, just the ground points, or the ground and the linear points. So I'm not going to have it export anything. It'll generate key points, lightweight points, all the points. You can have it override the current model, so I'll go ahead and do that. And if you need to, you can come in here and customize these settings to increase the resolution, decrease the resolution, those types of things. So I'm going to leave this all set the way it is. I'll go ahead and start processing this. This takes a few minutes. Shouldn't take, I don't know how long, so 20 minutes. Half an hour, 9 minutes,
It should
10 minutes. Who knows?
do you know why cows have bells? Because their horns don't work.
All right, so you can go through and extract that, and I don't know if I need the terrain or not to do the point cloud modeling. Let's find out here. I must have gotten rid of something in that other file that caused it to not work anymore. And it's really annoying me. Then we can go into the point cloud modeling. Yeah, you have to do the terrain generation first, unfortunately. All right, let me go open up that other one, see if I can at least demonstrate what it did. This is embarrassing.
Backing up the initial data collection, how do we make sure that the original data is coordinate correct?
How do you make sure that the original data is coordinate correct? Well, it depends upon how the data was collected. If the scanner has a GPS unit attached with it, which like for example, the roadway scanner
Right.
has a GPS on it, and so it assigns a coordinate system to the file and everything. If it doesn't, then it's more of a manual process. So within Recap, you'd have to go in and assign those coordinates.
Any idea on the tolerance of that GPS? It depends on the unit. You buy an expensive unit, it has a better GPS unit, so forth and
Depends
so on.
upon whether you have control.
Most scanners are going to have a GPS.
Right, but how dead accurate is that? I mean, I've used Find My iPhone and
yeah, if it's the GPS equivalent to an iPhone,
right,
I don't know, 15, 16 feet.
right.
Right. If you have control and you have a base station and all of that fun stuff that the surveyors like to use, you can get centimeter accuracy on it. Nope, too far. So this one I went through and I did the terrain extraction, and it didn't catch everything. For example, these cars, it didn't automatically put the cars in there for me. But what it did is it went through and it figured out there's something there. And as you're going through, it allows you to step through each and every single one of these. And so when it got to a car, it says, I don't know what this is, and it simply put a box there for me. And when I saw the box and I could see, and it actually shows you the points that were used to identify that, hey, there's something there. And I could see that, hey, that's in the shape of a car. So all I had to do was go into my style palette, find the 3D model that I wanted, which in this case were vehicles, and I simply took the vehicle I want. So I decided, you know, I don't want this one to be a car, I want it to be a caravan. Simply drag and drop on top of it, and it converts it out for me. So it takes that box and makes it into something that's real. All right, the light poles, they're probably not really rotated that direction, and there might not even be that type of light pole, but it gives me something there that, again, I can go find something else. So if I go to, say, for example, highway, no, I don't like that one. Let's go to...
Can't you rotate those light poles on axis? Okay.
So I want to use a different one, so I think it should be this one instead. It's a simple drag and drop in there. I can scale them up and down. I can rotate them around. Oops. And get them positioned a little bit better where I want them to be. And I can continue to do that for all of the individual features. And like I said, it steps you through individually.
Is that officer running a red light right there?
Look how many people are afraid to go around him. Even in the virtual
he
world.
ran a red light, didn't he?
We have proof now. All right.
Good call. Good call there. So it's pretty straightforward. I was able to create this model that you see here from start to finish in, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. From taking the recap file or the LAS file into recap, exporting it out, bringing it into InfraWorks, doing the terrain, and then placing all the model here.
Unless you're somebody's boss and you're watching this, then it took all day.
Right.
Yeah, it's all day. Questions from anybody so far? Brian, can you go back on that model and fill in the gaps in the road, or can you take that kind of as a cookie cutter and overlay another road on top of it? Because let's just say we're going through a section of Denver and it's a 2-lane road with a center median that you could basically turn out of. Can I then grip some section of that and say, okay, no, it's not, it's going to be a whatever, and then just overlay that and follow that transition of the road or turn of the road? Or
You could put an InfraWorks road in here, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having the scan data, because the scan data is very, very accurate to what's actually there, whereas an InfraWorks road is, hey, I'm following a path and I've got this perfect cross-section the entire way.
Well, let's say if you had to extend onto that, you could click onto the end of that and say, here's what we're proposing. We're,
right.
You know, in...
So if we wanted to, yeah, we absolutely could. We could come in here and we could create
a traffic circle.
Yeah, we could create new roads. So I could create a road on top of this. Oh,
or
sorry.
teeing off of it.
Yeah. I don't have any terrain outside of this, so it's going to be difficult to do in this example.
Right.
But if this was a part of a much larger project, I could come in here and we could put a road on top of it, and I could stylize this road to look however I wanted it to. And then, yeah, I could tee off of it. I could, you know, change the intersection type to a roundabout. So there's my overly simple road there. And I could use a different style.
Say you want to run a light rail down the middle of it or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just cool.
Or, yeah, you could run a light rail line down the middle of it, put trees in it. Do all sorts of fun things with it.
That's cool.
Brian, question. From InfraWorks, it can then be exported to Civil 3D?
Absolutely. And that's one of the beautiful things here. Directly in Civil 3D, we've got the tools that we can open an InfraWorks model, and that terrain would then come into InfraWorks or into Civil 3D. Or if you're not using the same version of InfraWorks and Civil 3D, so if you're using InfraWorks 2017, you have to be using Civil 3D 2017. I know a lot of people don't upgrade their Civil 3D every year. You can always take an InfraWorks model and export what's known as an IMX file. So the ability to export an IMX file that you can then import into an older version of Civil 3D. But I can't open up an InfraWorks 360 2017 model in Civil 3D 2016.
Another question, will AutoCAD Vanilla or AutoCAD Map work with a point cloud from Recap?
Yeah, absolutely. Point clouds or the Recap point clouds are used throughout Autodesk programs. So we can bring them into Map, we can bring them into AutoCAD, we can bring them into Revit, into Inventor. Just about any Autodesk program we can bring a Recap point cloud file into.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I don't see anything else on there. Do you guys have anything else that you have questions about the point clouds?